What's today? Today is July the 9th. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing for the town of Concord. With me here tonight are Elizabeth Dwyer Leonard, Stephen Newbold, Roger Villa, Theo Clemens, I'm the chair, Christine Zale from the planning department. We are thinking that the building commissioner. Hey, you snuck in. You snuck in.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a name tag for you here. You should.
Oh, you do?
You should fill that up. But thanks for coming, Kevin. Thanks for making the trek out here.
Sure.
So that's it for the town. We are expecting one more member here tonight, but we will get started with our 7 o'clock public hearing. Keith Moritz being the applicant owner for special permit on the zoning bylaw section 715 and 11.6 to demolish the existing 2,283 square foot single family dwelling and construct a 5,780 square foot two-story dwelling with attached two-car garage, which increases the gross floor area by more than 50% at 448 Sudbury Road. Anybody here to speak in favor of that application?
In favor.
In favor. Any?
Not in favor.
You're not in favor, but anybody?
Hello.
Oh, sorry, somebody.
Yes, hello. My name is Keith. I show up as Alexander M, but my name is Keith Morris.
Okay, sorry that I didn't pick up on your hand. That was, but please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And just for reference, I do have a couple of supporting parties, just in case I need some help. Jeff Udino, who's a lawyer, and then Elise Stone is also on the call, just in case I need any backup for any factual information. But so what I'd like to do, I'll keep it brief, but I'd like to share a little presentation, if that's possible. Just sent a request to be able to do so.
We'll be able to know.
Okay. And again, while I'm bringing that up, I do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And okay, so does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Hopefully in decent presentation. Okay. So my name is Keith Moritz. I live at 78 Southfield Road in Concord, Mass. I've been there for 19 years. I have purchased 448 Sudbury Road in Concord, Mass. And that's what this hearing is about. So a little bit of background. On Thursday, May 14th, the Concord Historical Commission determined that 448 Sudbury Road is not perfectly preserved, providing that I provide some documentation, both historic in nature, as well as reasons for its inability to be rehabilitated. I've provided that documentation to date. And that determination has been supported by a thorough review of the current home. And so I won't rehash all of that, but there is a plethora, there are a plethora of pictures, photos, background information already on file with the commission, with the historical commission, suggesting both why it's historic in nature, but well, historic, built by a particular building commissioner or building builder at the time who, post-war, while it's good and was served a purpose at its time, but it is at this point beyond repair. So this is the home in question right now, sitting at 448 Sudbury Road, from all four sides. A brief overview. I didn't add all the pictures in here. Again, they can be referenced back at the historical commission, but the cosmetic interior of the home has been largely deteriorated over time. Both front and rear walls of the home are clearly slanting, collapsing inwards. I have videos and photos and levels to show that. The cracked, buckling concrete slab in the kitchen, it is severe problems, both by moisture over the years, as well as there are no footings or frost protection, and it sits on a slab. Stripping, flaking paint, cracked ceilings, etc. Significant signs of water damage over time. Really, there is no resolving this home. It is beyond reasonable repair. And what I happen to know the owners who owned it, and they had, talking to them, they had wished to, over time, that's what this slide said, they had wished to, over time, put on a second story and build that home to suit their family of 5. And they just weren't able to, because there was just not the ability to, given the home's condition. The builder and engineers that they had brought out said, no, we won't build on that. It's buckling, the back wall is slanting, et cetera. And so to that end, the prior homeowners agreed that they had neglected the home with no hopes of sort of ever doing anything with it. And it is really in its current state almost from 1962. So that's the background of the historical commission review that we went through. What I'm proposing today, or have proposed, working with Mr. Pickering, to outline the project, working with my architect, et cetera, outline the project that is proposed, and with the information that we provided in the initial sort of, I guess it's the application, right? Construction of a new dwelling on a different footprint will provide new energy efficient, up-to-date housing. 100% true. Proposed dwelling will not change the existing use of the lot, single family, will not result in any increased traffic, have detrimental effects on environmental conditions in the surrounding neighborhood. And why do I bring these things up? It's because these are the things that I believe the special permit and permitting process sort of gauges as whether or not this is a suitable activity, or suitable proposal. The proposed dwelling will enhance the utility and value of the property. Again, there is no family that would move into this home. It is beyond repair. And then the proposal includes a basement level construction above the high water table. So one of the considerations that we have while we dug to determine the septic system and proper septic height, that was a process that we've already went through, have approvals to do so. We identified the water table at 6 feet. The high water table at 6 feet. The proposal is to build the home no deeper than 4 feet. Put the footings at that level as to not disrupt any existing underground water tables or water levels that exist today for any surrounding homes. So those are some considerations that are put into place. The X you see, so what I've tried to do is outline residence B, that's where this home is. Area, it has 20,000 square feet, which is the lot requirement. It does not have 125 feet frontage, which is what brings us to the next level of detail on the right-hand side. But there are many other surrounding lots that also have this condition of they were formed with 20,000 square feet, but they only have 100 feet of frontage on Sudbury Road. Min lot width is 100 feet. It is 100 feet front to back. Setbacks, 20, 15, 30, sticking within those. Max building height 35 feet, sticking within that. And why the special permit is really because of the frontage, the limited frontage that it has, which is 100 feet instead of 125. What we're allowed to build on this lot is a 24.5 square foot home, given the by right gross floor area max increase 50%. So what we've done here, and there's a snapshot, a snippet of the application on the bottom here, but based on the 20,000 square foot lot, there's a 6,000 square foot max floor area, but max floor area allowed. The proposed structure is 3,448 square feet above grade, which is very close to the 34245. But with it also has a 608 square foot garage, and then which the existing one does not. And then which brings us to the 4,056 square feet. Now, including if I were to completely finish the entire basement of another 724 feet, that brings us to the 5,780 square feet, which is in the public hearing notice, which that 5,780 is still below the 6,000 square foot max floor area. The reality is, am I going to actually finish? Are we going to realistically finish all 1,724 feet on that basement floor? Probably not, because there will be some mechanics. But the takeaway there is that above grade, and I have a slide later on, the above grade is 4,056, inclusive of the 608 square foot garage. So briefly, so these are I won't go through it, but this is the existing plot plan. The blue outline is, the black outline, dark outline is the existing home. In the next slide, I've highlighted in blue that existing home plot, and then put on top of it the new proposed home. So we are not moving in any one direction. We're actually skinnying it down a little bit on the right-hand side, extending it on the left. But in all cases, we're within the setbacks. And again, in this case, the architected plans have a height it's below the 35-foot limit that is allowed. So I've worked with Elise Stone. She's helped me on my house. And I've asked her to help me on this house. She's architected a design here that suits well for the neighborhood. So on the left-hand side, so this garage sits on the left-hand side. It is not a two-story garage, a single-story garage. On the left-hand side is a cape. Looking in Sudbury Road is a cape, which follows the exact same roof line. On the right-hand side, the trees bordered by a corner lot. But this house is an amazing, well architected house by a Concord resident. Again, I live around the corner, trying to fit in the neighborhood. It makes sense. It's livable. It's suitable for a Concord family. This is just some additional renderings. This is the surrounding neighborhood with non-conforming lots frontage, just to show the nature of how this is all of that pink indicates Residence B. I selected to just show a snippet of this area within this Residence B district. There are, as you can see, a dozen or more but at least half a dozen of the exact same situation where it's a 100 square foot lot, front to back, 20,000 square feet exactly. That's how they were cut. And then what I'll get into next is, so that is part of the neighborhood, that is part of where we live. And then what is next is just some comparisons to other homes in the general region. I've only selected 2 for direct comparison, just to sort of outline, where we are, where this neighborhood is, and how this works. The bottom, so 468 Sudbury is 2 houses towards Route 2. So on this picture here, so this red house borders 448, 448's on the left, and this is red house, and then this next house. And what I wanted to highlight there is that over time, over multiple renovations has expanded 50%, 50%, has expanded multiple times, and the actual total floor with garage is 3,080 square feet above grade. And the total above then with the second floor, it's about a 3,809 square foot. Now they have some design decisions to make some cathedral ceilings as opposed to livable second space or 3/4 floor story space, which is why it's at that 3,809. But the general floor area covers a large amount, right? So that's that point. 441 Sudbury is another one. This was built in 2003, so not quite the 1950 that's add on, but it was a redo or rebuild in 2003. That total first floor with garage is 2528, which is just slightly higher than what I'm proposing as the total first floor with garage of 2332. And their overall, with all the living space above grade, is 4,710 square feet. Mine, the one I'm proposing here, is 4,056, so well under that. So all to say, we think the home fits in the neighborhood. It's the right size for the neighborhood. And the house that it's replacing is unlivable. So we have to do something. That's kind of the way it's. So with that, I do appreciate your time, and I guess I open it up to questions or comments.
Great, thank you for this in-depth presentation. Are there any questions from the board?
Does the 2283 existing include any basement area for the house today, or?
The house today is on a slab.
Oh, it's flat.
So no.
Okay.
So no.
And
No.
following up on that question, there is no second floor, although there was dormers in that attics or in the roof. There's no second floor, correct?
That there is a second floor that is all storage.
It's all storage, but it's
And that
not
on the
it's not-
existing, correct.
Okay, it's not calculated in the square footage of the house, the existing house.
It is because the ceilings are above 6'8". So it's
Okay, it is.
counted,
Okay.
it's counted as gross as area that it could be livable, but it doesn't have to be finished.
Mhm.
It's listed as attic.
Hmm?
It's listed as attic in the application.
Okay, but Kevin, so that sort of that quote unquote attic space, that's calculated even though it's unlivable, you can't you can't build it.
6'8" ceiling, so it.
And that's you cut off. If
That's
6'8", then it
Yeah.
gets calculated in.
Anywhere that has a ceiling height of 6'8" or more, it has to get included in the GFA,
Okay,
so that's it.
okay, great, thank you.
You know, I just want to add also that they
Can
actually,
you, your name
Oh,
and your
sorry.
address, please?
sorry, Elise Stone, 288 Old Marlborough Road. You know, I just want to say that they did have people, you have stairs that go up to that space, and they were using it as a bedroom up there. So, I mean, it wasn't finished per se, as we know finished, but they were using it as a bedroom, and I think the kids use it as a playroom.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, then I'll open it up for public comment here on questions and answers. Go ahead, sir.
Want me to stand up or just sit or?
Yes, yeah, that's good, that's good.
So I'm Michael Coogan from 15 Whittemore Street. My wife Pamela Hill and I are abutters of this house, 448 Sudbury Road. We have written a detailed letter to the board, which is part of the record of this hearing. The letter expresses our opposition to the permit, and here are the main points of our letter. First of all, we do not oppose the demolition of the existing house as approved by the Historical Commission. Rather, we think that the proposed replacement house is not appropriate for this lot or this neighborhood. On our understanding of the issue and its legal framework, under Concord zoning bylaws, Massachusetts general laws, and a ruling of the Supreme Judicial Court, the question is whether the proposed reconstruction will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming condition. And that finding must be supported by the record. We do not think that finding can reasonably be made. The existing dwelling is 2283 square feet. Each lot is already non-conforming as noted because it has 100 square foot of frontage. The proposed replacement dwelling could be as large as 5,780 square feet, an increase of over 150%. That is not a modest enlargement. To more than double the size of a house on a lot that already fails to meet the minimum frontage requirement seems to us to directly contravene the spirit of the town's zoning bylaws. The immediate neighborhood largely has more modest Cape-style homes. When they have been enlarged, they have kept to the Cape style and only minimally impacted the neighborhood's character. The proposed structure will thus be an oversized new house placed into a neighborhood of smaller homes. The application materials do not provide a meaningful comparative analysis of nearby homes. Without that analysis, the board is left with assurances and assertions rather than a record sufficient to support the required finding. We are also concerned that the proposed design appears to be the same design used at 105 Prescott Road. If so, this reinforces our point that this proposal has not been meaningfully tailored to the Sudbury Road and Whittemore Street neighborhood. Finally, the increase in size has hydrological consequences. Even though the plans place the finished basement above the high water table, the new basement and expanded footprint drastically reduce groundwater permeability in a neighborhood that already suffers flooding and standing water in spring. In conclusion, we do not oppose the demolition of the existing house. Our objection is to the proposed replacement, which would constitute a significant increase in size over the existing dwelling on a lot that is already non-conforming in a neighborhood of more modest Cape-style homes. We respectfully request that the board deny the special permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Should I stand or?
Well, you can sit and read it, but name and address.
Yes, I'm Susan Fry. I live at 449 Sudbury Road across from the Maya Conti house. As a resident, of Concord, who's attended town meeting for 19 years. I'm well aware of how town meeting creates zoning bylaws. I hope this board will honor the square footage restrictions set by those bylaws for our neighborhood. I urge you to reject this special request for a permit because I personally dread looking out my window at a house that will be too big and out of character with the neighborhood of mostly capes. And many of the capes were actually built by Royal Barry Wills, just really nice capes. I support the letter that Michael Coogan and Pam Hill submitted last week and Michael's remarks today. I'd also like to just emphasize that about the square footage of the house, what really as used was 1,012 square feet. It's and I lived across the street, and if they use that as a bedroom, they never turn the light on the second floor. Just because, you know, it was always, this is brand new news that was ever a bedroom up on the second floor. I'm here to address an important safety concern. And in a nutshell, this is slightly different from what Michael and Pam have mentioned, but I want to point out that the driveway location in this current plan creates a major safety issue for our neighborhood. I request that the builder follow the common practice along Sudbury Road, which is staggered driveways. And relocate the driveway, sort of flip the house, so the driveway will be on the north side of the property. The current plan proposes a double driveway directly across from my single driveway, and creating a hazardous situation. And also, let me just explain this a little in slightly more detail. I worry about the danger of cars backing into each other when two driveways face each other. And Sudbury Road can be very busy. And drivers need to really pay attention to the road, you know, things that are coming from Route 2, you know, and heading toward. I mean, there are a lot of people who really want to make that light. And then a third flow of traffic coming from, facing driveways will just add to that complexity, and add to the danger. And then there's one more complicating factor. My driveway my next door neighbor's driveway is directly next to mine, which is very unusual for Sudbury Road, but it is. And so basically they're going to be two, and they have a double driveway. I have a single driveway, and then this new double driveway will be directly across from us. So, you know, when we're backing up, and which we all have to do, is just, so in reality, the two double driveways and my single driveway are all converging in close proximity if the proposed plan is built as is. So, and then the fifth wrinkle to this is that around every day around rush hour, there is a major backup because of the stoplight. And so that creates a traffic snarl that runs pretty much from like after school time to like dinner time. And so when those backups happen, that just that can be just adding another level of complexity. And in fact, just as an aside, my dog got hit by a car by somebody texting while they were waiting for the light, and then they gunned up. It's just a place where people have to wait for a long time, and then they're not really paying attention. That's the point I'm trying to say. So and then I just want to point out the common practice along Sudbury Road shows that there's a staggered driveway as the common practice. I've looked carefully, and I have a map that I can give you guys that shows that it's from a town map, and there are only 3 pairs of residential driveways that are facing each other between Route 2 and where at the library where Sudbury Road converges with Main Street. And many of those that occur were in the historic areas where it used to be like horse and buggy and carriages. If you go between Route 2 and Fairhaven, there are no facing driveways. These homes were built soon after World War II, when cars were becoming more common, and it was a busy intersection. So this is really going against the common practice. So just in conclusion, please require the builder to relocate the double driveway to the north side of the property to create a safer design, and let's keep the staggered driveway practice. And Elise Stone was the architect for my house and for the house where the budding driveway, so she's very familiar with this intersection. So I think if she looked carefully again and saw these 5 driveways that converge, she might rethink the plan if she looked a little more closely. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your public service.
No problem. Anybody else? Please, sir.
Yeah, Ken Hatley, 35 Whittemore Street, on the butter from behind.
Mhm.
I'm just confused as to the basement. He said he's only going 60 feet down. But then also mentioned that there's a potential to finish the basement. So I just, how big? I'm just confused, because it seems like only going 6 feet down wouldn't give you enough room to do a finished basement. Unless it's really cramped. Or the whole house
Keith, wanna
elevated.
wanna answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, sir. The plan is for the footings to go 4 feet down. The house will be built up in order to support a septic system out of the ground. And then the total house height will still be, less than 34.5 feet, which is less than 35 feet, which is the max. So regardless of the height of the basement, the overall house and the overall design will fit in the 35-foot height, as well as allow space and the appropriate soil for a leach field for appropriate septic system.
Great,
How
thank you.
big, how high is the basement? That's what I couldn't.
It'll be 7'6".
Thank you.
Yep.
Ed, I actually, yeah, go ahead.
Tina Hetling, 35 Whittemore Street. I just wanted to support the materials that my neighbor Michael Coogan, I'm also the rear butter to the home. I also support what Susan Fry has said. I'm hoping that the commission will support the spirit of the square footage restriction. I think it's valid for this neighborhood. I do appreciate that there are capes within this neighborhood, and I'm not convinced that the current design does fit in with the neighborhood. And I'd appreciate if the request to increase the footage above the guideline is rejected by the board. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom who wants to speak? Oh, sorry, there's somebody here. Go ahead.
I hope you can hear me.
Very good.
My name's Jean Maestri. Good evening. And I live at 458 Sudbury Road next to the proposed construction site. My husband and I bought our home in 1966. And I am the last remaining owner from that period and the oldest person in our neighborhood. In 1966, the small capes and the ranch-style houses here were affordable and attractive to young families like ours looking for our first-time home. Our neighborhood included many families like us. The neighborhood to me includes Whittemore Street and Sudbury Road, from Route 2 until the Fairhaven Road intersection, where Sudbury Road curves toward the downtown. Once you go around that curve towards downtown, you see the first grand and beautiful historic houses of Concord, interspersed with some smaller capes and colonials. But my neighborhood, before you turn that corner, is full of mostly small capes, most of them thoughtfully altered over the years according to the needs of the current residents. The modest sizes of these small homes gave consecutive owners the opportunity to expand according to their needs. and the vision and and now we have a neighborhood full of unique variations on the basic Cape House design. The building proposed as a replacement for the Maya Conti house is not a design suited to this neighborhood because of style and sheer size. Moreover, it only exacerbates the affordability problem in Concord. Here are some examples of how much larger this building will be than most homes in the neighborhood. The numbers I'm providing come from the town website. 17 out of 31 houses in the neighborhood are smaller than the extra floor space alone requested in the special permit. I'd like to repeat that. 17 of the 31 houses in the neighborhood are smaller than the extra floor space alone requested in the special permit. Of 31 houses in the neighborhood, only 4 have living space over 3,000 feet. The largest is 3,958 square feet, but it is a thoughtfully designed house, which does not present an overwhelming facade to the street, and it does not crowd up against the limits of both side setbacks and the new building proposed to do, as the new building is proposed to do. Of 31 houses in the neighborhood, only 4 have 2 stories. The rest are 1 3/4 stories or less. The average height of a 1 3/4 house is 16 to 22 feet. The average height of a 2-story house is 18 to 25 feet. The proposed new building will be over 30 feet tall, which is 10 feet taller approximately than the Maya Conti house. I don't know from what level that height is measured, but if they raise the ground in order to accommodate a basement above groundwater level, that building is going to appear even taller next to the neighbors. Not only is it very tall, it's going to be built right up to the side setbacks, which will cause a lot of shade to the yards next to it, both of which have vegetable gardens. It is going to interfere with our gardens and privacy. Another concern is what actually is the effect on groundwater when you build such a huge house. What kind of roof runoff will happen? And does it begin 15 or so feet from our property line? Mean that we're going to be absorbing the runoff water on our side. Even though this area is not considered to be in a flood zone, we have had backyard floods during heavy rains. We worry about how water runoff will affect us. Thank you for consideration of your time. Please don't grant this.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience?
I have something to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Maestri. I live with my mother at 458 Sudbury Road. I understand why the house next door has to be torn down and replaced, but I think this replacement house is a design which ignores the neighborhood. When I saw the plan, it looked so familiar to me that I went online and searched houses for sale, and within 5 or so minutes found numerous homes, almost identical giant houses for sale. I even found pretty much the same exact house. This house, which is at 105 Prescott Road. There is a house at 105 Prescott Road in Concord, which looks almost exactly like this proposed building. Comparing the plan to town records, I saw that this house has the same exact footprint as the one proposed to replace the Maya Conti house, but with less square footage on a larger lot. I took my mom to see it in person because we wanted a sense of how large a building to expect. It's difficult to imagine how large something will actually be just from seeing a small architectural drawing posted online. 105 Prescott is enormous. The Maya Conti replacement proposes to be even larger. The part of the house that runs alongside the neighboring property is basically just a long, very tall wall. It is almost the tallest part of the house and it is consistently tall. If you grant permission to build this house as requested by the builder, there will be a giant wall of a house right up to the side setback bordering my neighbor Pam's house. If the builder flips the design to accommodate the driveway issue, that wall of woe will overshadow not only our garden, but also our swimming pool. And I made some sketches of what the footprint will be compared to where our pool is in our backyard. I overlaid the footprint of the proposed design on a map, also showing the adjoining property. One shows the current proposal and one shows the mirror if they flip the design. This house is inconsiderate of the neighbors and the neighborhood. The architect clearly ignores the neighborhood with this plan. The 105 Prescott House neighborhood is not on a main road heading directly into the center of historic Concord, but you can see what is happening. Small houses are being torn down and replaced with huge cookie cutter houses. I don't want my neighborhood to end up like that. I support my mother and her neighbors in opposing this request for a special permit. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody online? They'll close the public comment section of this hearing, bring it back to the board. But before I do that, there's a couple of comments I want to make. Excuse me, that I want to make. We're talking about the size of the house, and so I don't think that traffic safety is necessarily a big issue here. And I actually like the location of this driveway, because where it currently is, it's right hidden behind that big hedge. You can't see anybody coming out of Concord because of that big hedge. So flipping the driveway to the other side, I actually think is a good thing. Just because of the visibility, because there and you know it, that's how I get home. So I go by there on a very regular basis. So I've been, obviously since this was on the docket here, I've been looking at it even a bit more carefully, and I noticed that indeed that's not a safe location for a driver with that big hedge there. There's no visibility, especially that people coming around that corner do an okay clip, as you said. So that will be just one thing that I just want to sort of clarify here. But that's, we're talking about the size of the house here and whether it's appropriate for the neighborhood. So I don't know whether anybody has any comments here in that regard. Hang on.
I mean, do we have a definition of how we draw neighborhood? Because I think I've heard here a very clear sense of what wasn't obvious to me not living in that part of town, that the people who live there consider the part sort of once you come around the curve to be a neighborhood, and then the other part to be
not the
separate.
neighbor, but the road behind Whittemore is part of the neighborhood.
Right.
And again, me driving that road and riding my bike there, I consider Sudbury as one road. That's just me.
And just as we're assessing neighborhood character, I'm not sure what our definition of this particular neighborhood is, or if we're bound by any definition that we have written in our materials.
Right. And on that, Yeah, I mean, and there's
That's the
clearly
question.
the house across the street, a little bit diagonally across the street. That's, I would assume, pretty much the same size,
Mhm.
give or take.
Mhm.
There's one further down in Sudbury, that side of the street, that's also, you know,
Yeah.
2-story and a bit bigger. But yeah, I think the definition of a neighborhood is just sort of like, you know, what you experience, you know, what do you experience?
If you live there
No,
or if you go
we
through it?
closed the
Oh,
public
sorry, but
comment
we'll have
period.
that.
And so,
That's what people.
I mean, I don't know if we have a definition. Maybe we
no,
do.
I don't think there is, but,
Okay.
but it's just like, yeah, I hear you that it's like, you know, I find, yeah,
Because I'm sensitive to the economics of redeveloping plots and what can be sold and things like that also. So I'm looking for some footing on the neighborhood piece.
yeah, and well, then this house needs to be torn down, right? There is just no, as somebody suggested, like there's other houses on the street that have just sort of built on and added on gently on
Or
the
that
Cape.
dividing by half and then the 50%
Right,
growth over
right,
time is different. This house has a different economic story,
Absolutely.
which doesn't make that wrong. It's just
Right.
different.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've run public hearings in Concord and there's a lot of generosity toward the public.
I know, I'm
get
with that
that.
there,
We just
and,
need to do
you
this.
know,
Just wanna make that
we're discussing, if we are getting through a point where we wanna have more input, then we'll ask for it. We don't allow people to just barge into a meeting while we're talking about a subject.
That's
That
fine.
is-
Just
that
wanna
is
make-
very out of
You
bounds.
did not say that to me. You said the hearing is closed.
But you are out of bounds now.
I'm fine being out of bounds. Thank you.
So, you know, we're trying to get here to a thoughtful solution. We heard the neighbors. We understand that somebody who owns this property has certain rights. And we're trying to balance those. And it's not an easy task for us in that regard. We don't want to upset the neighbors. We also don't want to take away somebody's rights to their property, to the development of their property. So we're trying to balance this. Back here.
Yeah, so the conundrum is I now see that differently than I had, you know, again, like I haven't lived in that part of town, but I certainly have driven through it. I haven't biked through it or walked through it. But that difference between the Capes and the larger houses is now clearer to me than it was, although as you're saying, across Sudbury, there also is at least one larger house. So that's a bit of a conundrum, you know. Is it a natural economic evolution? Like what? How do we quantify neighborhood character in a way that we can make a thoughtful choice?
Yeah, no,
It's a
I
conundrum.
hear you there, and especially near, so if there were no house on this lot, and you could, you know, I wouldn't, you know, given the condition of this house, there, you know, you can say that there might not be a house on the lot because it's not livable.
Right.
The applicant could go to the building department tomorrow and pull a building permit. It's just that the lot is non-conforming just because of frontage.
Right. In a similar way.
And right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do want to make that clear as well, and make sure that people understand that this is, that this frontage, the lack of frontage, or the non-conforming frontage is the reason why this application is here. Had to be enough frontage, again, that would have been a by right building. So I'm struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I have trouble a little bit because everything is non-conforming in this area, right? So that
Mhm.
sort of, we've historically seen those areas as, okay, the board actually does have some control of what's gonna happen in this neighborhood because there's not six conforming lots nearby where people can put these up without coming to us. On the other hand, I think it's a little misleading to just look at the 5,780 number.
Mhm.
And I think we need to think about this more as the massing of the building versus just the square footage
Yeah.
number.
Mhm.
I mean, it might be helpful to kind of see the height and the dimensions, but to me, it's like there's a lot of the massing is in the back, right? Versus
Mhm.
Mhm.
The width
what
is-
you see from the street, the width is about the same as what was there before. And I heard something about the height being maybe 10 feet up. It would be nice to kind of get a little more clarity on that. And then, in the back, there's the neighbors on, the butters on Whittemore, if you're seeing the back, it's hard to envision that. What you see from that side, right, versus what you
We need
see from
a-
Sudbury Road.
Site visit, I feel like that's maybe the.
I think I'd find it helpful.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that suggestion either.
I think we've got a few examples of, there are larger houses, and I think, but it does seem like the majority in that neighborhood is smaller homes.
Although as you come around on Sudbury and then you go into Riverdale and Southdale, there's a real evolution of the size of houses that I think has happened over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And to me, this is the house that the market wants now, right? Like,
Right.
This,
It's part of that.
even if you're a young family, right, like, and you're coming into Concord, it's hard to, nobody wants a
It's-
2,000 square
right.
foot cape anymore.
Well, and especially knowing you've got a front yard with lots of traffic, then,
Yeah.
family life isn't happening in the front yard as much. Anyways,
Can I, just a question, maybe they can clarify. They said they're only taking the footing down 4 feet, therefore they're bringing the house up. Are they is the grade staying the same as it is now?
Well, that I think is what Ravi, I
Right.
think also wants to know, right? If the groundwater is at 6, determined, then the footing is at 4,
The septic system is said to be
well, yeah,
compliant. had to
then
be up.
you have a float
Yeah.
about 10.
I guess.
Elise, no.
Can I answer that question? Okay.
No, not yet.
You know what I'm getting at? I'm just conscious. I see the elevations show that you're stepping the house up a little bit. The garage is level with grade. Is there, there was a question about the septic system. Is there any change in the overall grading of the plot, which would raise the land as well as the house? That's
Right. And then what's the finished floor of the existing house?
Right.
The finished floor elevation, and
Yeah.
what's the finished floor of the proposed house, right?
Yeah.
That would be good to know. I cut off some people. Let's go to the applicant, then I will come back here. Keith,
Okay.
Elise, you had
Yes.
something to say?
Yes, hi, thank you. So a couple things. One is I'd love to just request a site visit for the committee to sort of let's go look at the situation, go get a feel for the neighborhood, go understand what the surrounding is, and then but potentially help influence a determination, right, either direction. I agree with the driveway. Backing out of that driveway in its existing location is horrible with the bushes, shrubs that are there. From a elevation standpoint, the current home is below the road. So the elevation of the current first floor is 6 inches lower than Sudbury Road. So that is not a good starting point regardless, part of the buckling of the slab problem. As is the home next to, it's not as low, but this house seems to be very low. There are multiple pools, right, in the general area that take up groundwater that aren't accounted for. There's no pool. The plan is to take the existing home, existing plot, stay back from Sudbury Road as to not make it a big, massive home on Sudbury Road, big brick wall as you drop by, right? It is set back with the living space behind like a normal home. And the plant and for the septic in its existing state is just at the water line. The septic will be brought to the back and will be is the reason for the elevated ground. So not only does the septic and the leach field get brought back in order to, and then yes, we have to elevate the sort of round out the lawn to be able to do that. The house will go with it. That is the plan. So from an elevation standpoint, there will be, maybe a rock wall or maybe it's a slight 3-foot ramp up from the 42 feet that you have from the sidewalk all the way to the front of the house. So there's a 42 feet length there. It's not right on the road, right? Usually I think a 20-foot requirement. It's 42 twice that. But yes, from that point, the whole yard will be elevated with proper swales to get water to everybody's backyard or front yard, depending on the situation, where it belongs, right? Away from all the homes, away from all the septic systems that are appropriately sized, that are appropriately set back on all the surrounding homes, right? So there has been some thought into that. That's all I'll say.
Ms. Stone?
Can I also add to that?
Mhm.
Okay, so Elise Stone, 288 Old Marlborough Road. And I just want to say that, I was on the planning board when this was happening on Southfield Road in Riverdale. And that did, spark, the height restriction came from that. So this house, even though we're raising up the grade, the house is not 35 feet tall. We measure the height from the existing grade. So it will feel, the house massing won't feel that much taller. But, I'd also like to point out that, there was a lot of bad feelings in that neighborhood. And yet you drive through Southfield and Riverdale now, and Capes live very happily with bigger homes. And I've probably done 50 Cape renovations in my years here. And that's not an exaggeration. I love Capes, but what happens is Capes are they're not economical to add on to or to build really. So that's just the reality of today's world. So I understand where the neighbors are coming from, but I would say to drive through. I mean, Whittemore has some very nice 2-story homes, Riverdale, Southfield, and I've done 2-story homes on Southfield and Riverdale, and I've done 10 Capes over there, and they live happily together because it's just unfortunately the economic reality of today. So I just wanted to add that piece.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupted before, but I thought you were making a comment about procedure that I'll just read it. First of all, on the special permit, the balancing, the zoning laws should be followed, basically, usually. And I understand your difficulty with this, but the zoning law does make it seems to me apparent that it would be very appropriate to have a similarly scaled house in this neighborhood. Secondly, I think it's unfortunate, but very common when one is advocating for something to give an example which is not exemplary at all. The house that is used as an example is actually an outlier in that neighborhood. And I just want to make sure that that is understood. The houses are Capes and expanded Capes that have been tastefully expanded over the years with a very clear understanding of the character of the neighborhood. And I've observed other people in the neighborhood exercising a kind of restraint that's very impressive to me. I know people on Southfield and Riverdale, this is a very impressionistic comment being made. People are not entirely happy necessarily with what has happened in those neighborhoods. So I think you're going to see a kind of anecdotal remark coming from an architect who has an interest in this. Finally, just more generally speaking, I'm really concerned about the tone of this this whole discussion, which seems to be driven by market and profit and economics, when the town itself and the entire state is really trying to push back against that very problem. Affordable housing is not this stuff. Economics should not drive what a community decides to do. Community interest and common interest and the good of the public should be the driving force. So I'm really unhappy with the comments that indicate that the market drives stuff and that what people want, and one of the board members said what people want is something like this. That's not true. I have millennial children. People are not materialistic people these days. They do not want these large houses. And I've heard it from developers in town who say it's going to be interesting to see these large houses become dinosaurs, because it's not true. People are looking for a way to make things smaller. And in a responsible town like Concord, where there's been oversizing, which is enabled by these sorts of decisions, which are entirely discretionary and do not have to happen. You have the power to help ratchet back what's going on in this town, and you're just not exercising. It appears that you're not exercising it, and you're applying a kind of a measure which is somewhat inconsistent with the common good, if you're driven by market and economics. So I respectfully request that you think more deeply about your responsibilities on this board, and think about what it means to be enabling these McMansions, which are going to be dinosaurs and which take energy and which are not, as you seem to think, with, as I said, knowing a lot of millennials, people are more happy to be in these smaller houses. They can afford them, first of all. And secondly, they like the idea that we're not overbuilding and over consuming. So I wish you would really tonally start thinking that way as you make these decisions, because historically in the last 10 or 15 years, the place is run amok with this kind of attitude of economics and profit. And obviously the person who is building this house is going to be flipping a house for a profit. And it's fine to make a profit, but there's common good and higher values that this town needs to respect. And I wish we would start doing that.
Thank
You
you.
have an opportunity here.
Thank
Do
you.
we have her name and address for the record? Was it said earlier?
Did you have the address then?
Could you just repeat the name and address so we have it on the record?
My name is,
Yeah.
I'm Pam Hill. I'm at 15 Woodmore Street. I happen to be a butter. I have much larger concerns about what I've just heard tonight. Much larger concerns.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Can I
So
have one last, just
No,
one last
no.
reminder?
No.
Okay.
We're at public now.
Okay.
So I live next door to the example that they gave, a very large house that, I've lived there for 19 years. And I can happily tell you, and finally, have had plantings that give me some element of privacy from the house that, is across the street from the Myetts, it's very large. It is, I call it, the mountain, because it basically, it blocks, it's 3.5 feet. And I've talked to the owner, and he basically said that, I have a mounded septic in my backyard. It's a small, 3-bedroom cape. He has a mounded house. He has a full basement. It's dry, but this house towers over. There was a time I wanted to have a beehive. Every window in their house could see my beehive, and it upset them. So I did not have my beehive, and it went to my neighbor Jean's house. Because you just can't, in a neighborhood where it's all capes, people have privacy in their backyards. And when these houses come in, and I've lived it, and I'm on the sunny side, the people on the other side, this owner bought the house next to them when that person left, and because they have a disabled relative who lives there. That house is in the shadow of the mountain. And that will be the experience of Pam and Michael, because it's these houses it just changes the whole dynamic of the backyards. And so I'm just speaking from a similar experience that I've lived for 19 years. And so when you do the site visit, you might wanna take some time to just look across the street.
No, we will.
Oh, I know, but I mean, I've lived it and I have great sympathy for what's coming.
Okay, I'm member of the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jonathan Silverstein, 9 Damon Mill Square. I have no dog in this hunt.
That's
I'm gonna
why,
be
that's
really
why I
quick.
like, that's why I let you speak.
Yeah.
Because we'd like to know.
His comment has nothing to do with me.
No, nothing to do with much. But I did feel compelled to say something. First of all,
Yeah,
to say that I have nothing to do with this project. I have tremendous respect for Elise Stone and any suggestion that she would ever say anything to this board that wasn't consistent with her professional opinion. I just felt the need to push back on. I also think it's just important in any case involving a change to a non-conforming structure to remember what the standard is. It's not how much can the board limit it. It's not, you know, what's the minimum size that would be feasible. It's they can do it unless the board finds it's going to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, not one neighbor, to the neighborhood as a whole than what's there now. And so I just thought I'd put that out there to clarify.
thank you,
For you.
thank you, thank you. But I'm actually, I do wanna, we're at this for an hour now, over an hour. So I do wanna continue this hearing, what if you guys all agree.
Yep.
Have a site visit. And get some more visuals, from, either the applicant or Ms. Stone, just showing some height, some bulk, why the house is positioned where it is, just, a couple more graphic, items. I'd like that for, you know, just to understand it a bit better, and then obviously the.
May
This-
wanted to call your attention to the case that we cited.
Excuse me?
Just call your attention to the case we cited, which is on point.
Yeah. So, we're gonna do site visit and, you know, wait till next time. I mean, we're at this for an hour now. Okay, go ahead, quick.
When you get the more materials, will they be made public? Will they be-
Everything that gets submitted will be posted on
Thank
the website, yeah.
Awesome.
So,
The site visit might not be open to the public though, right?
so here's the site, visit. When we schedule the site visit, it's up to the applicant to allow public on the property. You know, that can be a bit tricky in certain cases to allow public on the property, so it's up to the applicant to allow the public. And that has some repercussions in what we can do as a board during the site visit, what we can discuss, et cetera, and what we can talk about. But so I'll leave it up to the applicant to allow public or not allow public on the property during the site visit, but let's schedule that site visit first.
Great. You
What-
want to do that or make a motion?
No, let's schedule that, then make a
I
motion.
think it's also worth making the point about the, that we won't be able to take questions at the site visit or engage with the public. I think that's an important thing to put out there
Okay,
as we're scheduling it.
Can I just offer, if you wanted to see my backyard, to see the house that is submitted?
We'll.
I mean, if-
we'll thank you for the offer. We might or might not take your offer. on it.
So noted, but
Okay.
we have to follow up.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your, you had a preferred day, right? Or was it June?
Tuesdays and Thursdays. So
Tuesdays and
Not
Thursdays.
Thursdays.
Oh, so it's a Tuesday.
Right.
It's 14, 21,
21st. I'm not available 14th, but I am 21,
or 28.
either
I
one.
can do 21 and 28.
Applicant, are, 21 or 28th of July we would like to do a site visit. We typically do 8 o'clock in the morning. Would that work for you?
Either one of those days works, yes.
Sooner rather than later? Well,
Sooner rather than later, the 21st it is?
yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a procedural question? Just, is the hearing, will there be another opportunity for public comment after you have the site visit?
Yes, we assume that there is gonna be a presentation because we asked for some additional materials. And then we'll just run the same gamut, we'll have some questions, bring it to the public, bring it back, and then it's
We
discussion.
can comment. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank
And
you.
that'll be at our next regular ZBA meeting, not
Yeah.
at all at the actual site visit.
That will be, we will receive notice of that discussion, right?
Of the site visit or the zoning board meeting?
The zoning board meeting.
Sure, it will be
Uh,
second.
No, you will not, we'll schedule it now. Then the next zoning board meeting, right?
Correct.
The
Yeah, you
regular
won't get
meeting.
another postcard for
Okay.
the continued hearing. You'll
Um,
hear that it's continued
Second
tonight.
Thursdays.
Second Thursday.
Or what is that date?
Well,
That's what they're getting to.
it'll be in our motion, and so, so,
Yeah, fine, then.
we gotta do the motion, and then we'll,
Things on the August agenda.
do things, so, and it's on the 13th of August. 2 items, 7, so that's 7, 7, 5, so this will be 7, 10. And you know how well we run on a schedule here.
I move that we continue the application of Keith Martz for a special permit under zoning bylaw section 715 and 11.6. At 448 Sudbury Road to August 13th at 7:10 PM.
A second.
All those in favor?
All
All
right.
right, do we need to have a motion for a site visit?
I don't think we usually.
We don't do a motion for the site visit, okay,
Did we say 8 AM?
We said
8,
yeah.
we said 8 AM on the 21st, we said.
Yes. Great,
Okay, good,
Okay.
well,
7:05.
see you all in a month.
Thanks for your time.
Also.
Sorry.
7:05, Lee Mullenkamp, applicant owner for special permit on the zoning bylaw sections 5.3.15 and 11.6 to operate a tourist home at 7 Seymour Street.
I'm right here.
Great. Hey,
You've been
I can,
here before, right?
yeah. So
This is your first time back, or?
So we, a year ago renovated the cottage that was at 7 Seymour Street. And it is our second home. It's been in our family for 70 years now. And we want to be able to rent it on Airbnb on a very limited basis. We're not, we're living right now in Maine. So we would like to be able to do it on a very limited basis. We enjoy it during most of the summer, but during the fall months, when people are coming in, tourists are coming in, leaf peeping season, we're very busy with our family up in Maine and we don't utilize the property that much. So we would like to be able to offset some of the costs, by doing it on a very limited basis, some renting.
Okay, thanks, and so you have been in operation for a year now, right?
With the house,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we finished the building in May.
Yeah, but have you been renting it? Is it-
No.
Oh, okay, so this is a new one, okay,
Yeah.
for some reason I thought this was,
someone else.
Hmm?
She looks like someone else.
yeah,
Does the same.
I was pretty convinced that we'd given you a permit already, and this was just, because you gotta come back, right?
Building
Right,
permit.
and then you gotta come back, so, okay, so, anybody, we just have to ask this, anybody from the public wanting to speak? Anybody here? Jonathan?
Oh.
Yeah. Anybody online? Nobody's, putting up their hand, so I'll bring it back to the board, close the public comment section. Members of the board, what do you like?
My only question was, the bylaw says no more than 3 rooms. And do we interpret that as bedrooms?
I would,
Which makes sense to me.
yeah, Kevin?
I think I have an answer for you there.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go with that interpretation because.
Town council.
Tourist home. Town council, you're on the line. Could you chime in, please?
I am, yes. Could you just clarify the question for me?
So the bylaw 5315 says we can grant a special permit to operate a tourist home, provided that no more than 3 rooms in any dwelling unit may be used for such accommodations. You know, for the temporary accommodations for overnight guests.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna interpret that as bedrooms unless somebody has some other interpretation or knows that it means something else, right?
I don't have a lot of familiarity with this particular provision, so I can, if you want to give me a few minutes, I can think about it and look into it. If that would be helpful.
Yeah, Kim has her hand up. I don't know.
Kim, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lee's sister, and I'm out in Colorado, so I couldn't be there. But I just did a search on VRBO, and I did find a 5-bedroom home that is listed in Concord.
And hopefully they have a permit.
Yes.
But I mean, it makes sense to me that if you start trying to define rooms other than the bedrooms, which are the accommodation, right? You can get really messy pretty easy.
Yeah, you have a kitchen, you have a living room and a dining room. Well,
you'd have a
bathroom
and a.
Right.
Well, no, I mean, it's like, do you, because you're renting the whole home with all the rooms versus renting a bedroom, right? And this is the idea that you're renting out a bedroom versus a home, which is before kind of the Airbnb sort of model came to be. So I don't know that it totally fits the situation, but for me, that there's 3 bedrooms being rented, I'm fine with that because I don't think the other rooms are the accommodation.
Right.
I just want to make sure that we're not tripping on something that we shouldn't be setting a precedent for.
Maybe for this one, it seems like that's sufficient, but in the future, for a larger house, we may need to come back.
And if
to
it's
it.
a larger house and you have 5 bedrooms, I think you should only be renting out 3 of them.
Right.
Otherwise, we shouldn't be approving the permit.
Right.
Because this house only has 3 bedrooms, I think it fits.
Right. And especially since it refers to a tourist home.
Yeah.
Right.
Just hopping back in here, sorry, I wanted to just take a look at the actual language in the bylaw. I feel comfortable with that interpretation if that's how the board wants to interpret it.
Okay, terrific.
That's all.
Good. Okay, I'm ready to make a motion. I move that we grant to Lee Molenkamp a special permit under zoning bylaw section 5.3.15 and 11.6 to operate a tourist home at 7 Seymour Street.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Okay.
You didn't give a duration
For 1 year?
for 1 year?
Oh, yeah, it is for 1 year.
For 1 year.
So we grant this permit for 1 year,
Okay,
and that's sort of like a test run.
okay.
Then, next, I was about to ask building commissioner, like, have we had any problems? But because I was assuming we already had given you a permit. So we'll ask that question from the building commissioner in a year when you come back, and then, we typically go 3 years.
Okay.
And then 5 years.
Great, well, thank you for your time.
No problem. 710. Mashawtuck Country Club, applicant owner for special permit on the zoning bylaw section 7.2 and 11.6 for the installation of a replacement irrigation system pump station in the floodplain conservation district at 1861 Sudbury Road. Just want to note that we got the report from the planning board suggesting that we approve this, but let's hear from the applicant. Mike Toohill.
Hi, good evening. Mike Toohill from Conoco Engineers and Scientists representing Neshawta Country Club. Can I share my screen, show you a few things, if pictures and things?
Great, yes, you should be able to, or you can request it, I can approve it for you.
Okay, how do I request it? Because I cannot right now.
I think you usually would make them a co-host. It solves it, right?
Okay, do you have the ability now?
Yeah, you're a co-host now, so.
Let's see. Yeah, now I can do it. No, I can't do it. Sorry. I don't have the share screen on my Zoom meeting.
It's on the bottom if you.
Yeah, it's not there.
Yeah, you are a co-host, so share setting. Yeah, correct. It's mine, yeah. How come the
Oh, you have shared, but it don't.
share settings supposed to the share? No. That's funny because the first applicant, Sudbury
Yeah.
Road, he had screen.
Yeah, normally there's a share screen button right on the bottom of the Zoom screen, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, I had to change the share button here, but there is indeed, it's not share screen. Can you do it without sharing the screen?
I sure can. And if you want to pull something up, that's great. So the Neshawta Country Club is proposing to replace the existing irrigation pump station, which is located kind of on the east side of the irrigation pond off Sudbury Road on the 17th golf hole, with a pump station, and that's an exposed pump system that's up on top of a metal structure on top of a concrete wet well. They're proposing to replace that whole system with a building that will enclose the pumps and will have a draw pipe from the pond, pulling water from the pond directly into the pump system, which will be located just to the west of the green, but more than 40 feet from Sudbury Road. The building is proposed, it's a small building, 500 square feet. It's in the floodplain. And so the only thing in the floodplain that we calculated fill is the building and the stairs to the building. We have a sum total of 1,990 cubic feet of fill in the floodplain. And the floodplain out there is elevation 121. The ground surface is elevation 118. So we're going, we have 3 feet, if you will, of fill from the building. We're proposing compensation for the floodplain fill behind the green, where we're going to lower grades to make up for the fill. And the total compensation that would be required on a 1.5 to 1 basis, which is what the board requires, is 2,985 cubic feet. We're actually providing 3,258 cubic feet. And we're also before the NRC. And so on the NRC and the Wetland Protection Act, you have to compensate on a foot-by-foot basis, which we are also doing on a foot-by-foot basis. But our replacement ratio is about 1.64 to 1, as opposed to the 1.5 to 1. That's the minimum required by the zoning floodplain zoning district. So that's basically the long and short of it. It's just a fill for a small building and then some regrading behind the green in order to compensate for that fill.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for being succinct here. Questions from the board?
I thought I liked the planning board's recommendation. I thought it was clear and I agreed with it.
It's moving farther away from Sudbury Road. There's no neighbors. There's no
neighbors, and it's like I always, these kind of permits, it's like it really is the National Resources Commission. They're much more adept to judge these, so when they come here, I'm pretty okay. But that all being said, I need to open it up for public comment. Anybody here? Jonathan?
For the rest of time.
Anybody online? Nobody online, so I'll bring it, close the public comment section, bring it back to the board.
Nope, looks thoughtful, like they've done their work.
It's thoughtful. The two other boards that are, or commissions
Yep.
that are much more adept for this have blessed or National Resources is in the
Yep.
process of. So,
Yeah, and they're going over the requirement
Yeah.
for compensatory storage.
yeah.
Looks good to me.
I move that we approve the application of Neshata Country Club for a special permit under zoning bylaw section 7.2.11.6 for the installation of a replacement irrigation system pump station in the floodplain conservancy district 1861 Sudbury Road with the conditions recommended by the planning board and otherwise adopting their findings.
I second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much. Good luck,
Thank
Ms.
you,
Stewart.
appreciate your time.
Mhm. 7:15, Greg Legault from Legault Design LLC, being applicant on behalf of Joseph Stein and Amanda Patrick, being the owners, for a special permit on the zoning bylaw section 715 and 11.6 for a proposed 470 square foot second floor addition to the existing garage and mudroom in the front yard setback and raising the roof of the existing screen porch by 20 inches, which will extend the roof overhang to non-conforming from 16 feet to 15.1 feet at 195 Stowe Street. Anybody here to speak on this application, Mr. Legault? Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I'm Greg Legault with Legault Design. I'm the architect. I'm also have Mandy Patrick and Joseph Stein, the owners, are online as well. But we are proposing, as you said, to do a modest second floor addition. If I can share my screen, I'll try to do that.
Do you, okay, there we go. Works now.
Works now.
And can you see that? The photos?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to your screen.
Your
Your desktop.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. So you have the photos of the existing house?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically it's this photo here is the important one where the existing house is 4 feet closer to the road than allowed. It's 16 feet instead of 20 feet. I can go to the site plan here just to show you that quickly. So it's on the corner of Stowe and Laurel Street. The existing garage is 16 feet, and that's why we're here. We're proposing to add a modest second floor addition that we believe the owners just need a little more space. It's a small modest sized cape, as you can see. They have 2 kids and a growing family. Wanted to get a little more space, and we felt the most economical and ecologically sound way to do that would be to add over the second floor. And so this is the proposed. You can see the dotted line is the existing roof, and we are adding, we're raising that roof, keeping the existing pitch, raising the roof just under 5 feet, 4.5 feet. So we're still only 23 feet to the ridge, which is just over the existing by a foot, but still obviously well under the allowable 35 feet. And then the other piece is this porch is also in the front yard setback. There's an existing porch. We would like to raise the floor of it to be flush with the existing first floor, which also requires us to raise the roof a little bit to keep the headroom there. And then just to clean things up architecturally, extending this eave across to the garage. And you can see on the existing house, it sort of steps up here. That's the existing porch. We're just trying to clean that up a little bit and extend that over so it looks nicer. And then we're also proposing to bring the eave, the rake line out just about 8 or 9 inches to add a little definition to the elevation, which is why on the plot plan you see this 15.5 is the rake overhang, the 16 feet. The wall will still be at 16 feet, will match the existing wall of the garage. We're actually keeping that existing first floor wall and just building on top of it. So I'll try to keep it brief and there.
Great, thanks so much. Any questions? We're having the same issue again here. Yeah.
We are, but I think we're in that roof overhang area where it's like,
We're not adding.
why, it's minimal and it's the roof overhang and it makes architectural sense. Why make it not make architectural sense just to preserve that?
And to me, I thought it's not bulk.
Right.
Right.
Right, it's just
Trim.
it's just an overhang.
Yeah.
If it was
And
square
that's
footage.
consistent with one of the other roof overhangs.
Yeah.
Let them do this.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
This is basically a vertical non-conformity extension.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
So,
is not getting that, well, maybe a foot taller, but
Yeah.
it's consistent with the existing
Yeah.
height of the house too. So
Yeah.
I was.
So is the garage eave the only thing that's,
The porch eave is.
the porch eave is as well?
And I think the porch eave is like a few inches even closer to the.
Closer, okay. But the porch isn't getting closer, just the roof line is.
Correct.
Yeah, it's even.
Just to make sure we're only talking about a roof
Yeah,
issue.
it's
Okay.
only eve, so you're not, question for the architect, so that we have that on record. You're getting closer to the property line. But only with sort of roof overhang, not with bulk or square footage. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's open it up for public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Seeing nobody, hearing nobody.
And we have nothing from the public.
We
in the
have
record.
no public comment. So bring it back to the closed public hearing.
Nobody in line for comment?
No.
Okay.
Right, so bring it back to the board. Why is the house is in Tyvek right now, right?
House is what?
The house, this is Amanda Patrick, one of the owners. The house is currently in Tyvek because we're having the siding replaced on the existing part of the house.
Okay.
We had originally hoped to do that after, but due to needing a special permit, we were able to pull that get a separate permit to replace the siding, and so we're doing that now.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move that we grant to Greg Legault of Legault Design on behalf of Joseph Stein and Amanda Patrick, the owners, a special permit under zoning bylaw section 7.1.5 and 11.6 for a proposed 470 square foot second floor addition to the existing garage and mudroom in the front yard setback and raising the roof of the existing screen porch by 20 inches, which, well, I don't live in this world every day, which will extend the roof overhang non-conforming from 16 feet to 15.1 feet at 195 Stowe Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, congratulations, and good luck with the construction.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking like a nice house.
Thank you.
725, Jonathan Silverstein, Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein LLC, the applicant on behalf of Concord Country Store LLC, the owner for special permit and site plan review on the zoning bylaw section 713, 72, 11.6, and 11.8 to renovate the existing gas station and make associated site improvements in the floodplain conservative district at 166 Ave, Malcolm.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Jonathan Silverstein for the record, 9 Damon Mill Square for the applicant. I am going to speak about this one.
Good.
With me is Matt Merva from Bowler and Tarek Fayyad, who is the applicant. We appeared before you at your last meeting, heard a number of good comments and suggestions. We took them very much to heart. So I'm going to just run through the changes we've made in bullet point form, and then Matt's going to do the hard work of actually showing you everything on the plans.
I'm going to show it while you do the bullet.
Oh,
points.
even better.
Be super
Even better.
efficient here.
All right. So
Can you, can you
Enlarge.
enlarge?
Yes, yes. I was seeing where Jonathan went first, and I was going to zoom into that part.
Yeah, but
so number one is going to be the south side of the building. Mr. Chair, you suggested widening that landscape strip.
Thank you.
Along that property line. That's been done pretty significantly.
Right, so
red
this
buds
is all
have been-
plant bed now, where it was pavement up to a curb edge,
Yep.
so that's been expanded.
Yep.
The red buds have been replaced, I think, with red maples, is that?
That's right.
That's right.
That's
Yep.
right.
The one parking space has been eliminated.
Yeah.
And a bike rack has been added,
Right.
as well as a ADA ramp, and accessibility
Yes.
along that side of the building.
So we have a ramp here now. And we've also added the ramp at this location here that was discussed. We looked at trying to add one here. Right at the entrance, but the grades wouldn't allow for that. But we do have accessibility here and then as well on this end here at the existing, the previously proposed curb ramp.
The bike rack, remind me, I know there's a detail on there, how many bikes put it on?
It's a 2-bike rack.
Is it like a ribbon or?
It's a ring rack. I'll show you.
Okay, yeah, it just is.
It's just one on each side of a.
Yeah, it's very close to the building, but that's my detail, but anyway.
Yeah, and there just wasn't room to keep the satisfy accessibility and.
No, I just, that second bike that's on the building side, I don't think you can get in there, but this is way too detailed.
We also
You mentioned we've eliminated a parking space.
We eliminated the parking space, so there's now 3 along that side, southern side of the building instead of 4. On the other side, we took one of because we eliminated the parking space, 10% is now 1 EV space. So we're still showing 2, but one of them is a flex space, which would be available either for customer parking or EV charging. So, and it will be, the signage will clearly delineate that. We removed that little triangle of landscaping and just made it additional area for handicap.
It's just striped now.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure we could still open a door here. So we just removed the curb is just continuous along this back edge now.
And I know, and we removed the riprap at the back, and replaced it with a retaining wall, I believe, and we put railings on that rear door. So I think we've accomplished 90-some% of what we were asked to look at.
Those are the red maples, by the way. So they've-
And there's a lot more planting along there and, obviously it increases or decreases the impervious coverage of the lot even further from the existing condition. So I'll pause there. Did I miss anything, Matt?
I don't believe so.
And we'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Yeah, well, thank you for making these changes.
Of course.
I appreciate it. But,
I have a question.
Yes.
So I love that we have the striped crosswalk. Can you just show me with an arrow how you would have pedestrians go from that crosswalk into the store? Like what
On
would
the
be the
street.
walking path to get from, say I've crossed the street on the, I've come from
park.
Rideout Park and I've
Yeah.
crossed the striped walk. How do I walk into the store?
Right, so from here up,
We go, okay, and
Yeah.
then the gas pumps are that rectangle?
yeah,
Right
they're
there.
right here. That's
Okay,
correct.
so we'd go
Yeah.
up that way.
This is the canopy and then the pumps are underneath the canopy.
Okay, so we are going through that car pathway. Or I
Unless you
guess,
want to walk to the north and go up the footpath.
But even then,
It is-
you gotta you're going around the parking.
okay, or I'm going to the other side and I'm walking along the
river
red
path.
maple.
Along the
path.
river.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is the most direct
Go
way to get
this
to the
way.
front door, right?
Okay.
Through the parking. lot.
So, okay,
Which is a condition in many other properties along this edge, but we've tried to accommodate accessibility at that corner for just the reason you
Sure.
mentioned, in case people are coming in that direction.
and then could I walk in the other driveway that's, just,
Commonwealth.
Up here?
On
yeah.
that side.
Yes.
So they could walk in that way and along the
That's
landscaping.
correct. And then
It's just not an accessible.
and then they
Not
could-
accessible, but-
They could walk up here. and-
Okay.
And get onto the landing. This is not accessible, but this is, so they could walk.
Sure, no, and I'm hearing you on the accessible. I'm
Yeah.
thinking it's great that there's a, the country store image and that we'd have people coming from the park to there. I'm just interested in what the safe walkway is for the under 12 set. That's what it
If you're
would
under
be.
12, you're not gonna pay any of those rules. You're gonna come up the sidewalk, you're gonna walk across whatever is in your way. So what is in your way if you went straight up there? Is it just a sidewalk and then there's just a curb there?
That's right.
Yeah, so you're just gonna step over the curb. Hopefully there's no car there and you just walk your way.
All right,
Dropped the bike before.
yeah,
Go
Yeah.
ride it.
Go,
okay, thank you.
Okay,
Mhm.
let me open it up for the public, see whether there's anybody in the public who wishes to speak on this application. Please raise your hand. Seeing none, nobody in here wants to speak. So closing the public comment section of this here and bring it back to the board for discussion. Let me start it off. I'm obviously, I was the one barking the loudest last time. I'm pretty content on what the changes that were made, so thank you so much. I appreciate that. I could noodle for a long time on these plans, but I can't do that in this capacity, so I'm pretty happy, so.
Great.
I'm happy too. I think it's a very nice project, meets the special permit requirements. Again, agree with the planning board. What they found, so.
Yeah, and I think we've fine tuned it and, done those things.
Yeah, I honestly think they improved it quite a bit,
Mhm.
so.
Good work. Okay,
All right, I make a motion that we approve the application of Jonathan Silverstein on behalf of Concord Country Store LLC for a special permit and site plan review under zoning bylaw section 713, 7.2, 11.6, and 11.8 to renovate the existing gas station and make associated site improvements in the floodplain conservancy district at 166 Commonwealth Ave, adopting the findings of the planning board and incorporating all the recommended conditions in the report.
I second that motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thanks for,
Thank you again.
thanks for
Thank you.
bearing with us this,
Yeah.
all this time. I would like to have a like 2-minute
Momentary
recess.
break. I love it. Let's do it.
We just get this table and sorry for everybody on the line, but you take a short break.
Sure. Yeah. I enjoy those. Yours are 6 and 8.
Okay, we're back. Thank you all for your patience, but after sitting on this chair for almost 2 hours,
Humans needed a break.
I needed a break. So thank you for your patience. Let's go on to the 7:30 application from David and Marianne Schubert, applicant owners, for a special permit on the zoning bylaw section 715 and 11.6 to construct a 453 square foot deck that extends the non-conforming front yard setback to Riverdale Road from 9.8 feet to 5.7 feet at 111 Pilgrim Road. Anybody here to speak on this application? Mr. Day.
Yes, hi, I'm Tom Day from Robert Day Architects, and I'm here representing David and Marianne Schubert, and I can share my screen to show the design updates we've made since the last meeting.
Great.
Can you share the screen?
Yep, I'm sharing right now.
There you go. Good work.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so this was the site plan as we looked at it during the last meeting. The question was concerning the reduction of or the further encroachment into the towards the property line from 9.8 feet of the existing structure to 5.7 feet to the corner of the proposed deck. We took the board's suggestions and revised the design of the deck. This is a diagram summarizing the changes that we've made. So this was the previous version. This dotted line here represents that 9.8 foot offset from the property line and what our previous proposal was for the deck. We have adjusted the design on the diagram on the right to move the stair from the rear portion of the deck to the side, reducing the overall footprint and moving the closest point from the property line to behind the 9.8-foot existing structure to the corner of the deck. So the stairs now are on the side rather than the rear portion of the deck. And this is the revised site plan showing those adjustments. So the previous design was at 9.8 feet. We're now at 9.9 to the top of the stair. And I've submitted the updated architectural sets. So these are the existing side and rear elevations. And this is the proposal now shifting the stair to the side where the stair will come down side of the deck, and the architectural drawings corresponding to that. That's all.
Great, thank you so much. Questions from the board? No, I think we all.
It's basically eliminated the non-conformity.
Yeah.
He's eliminated the issue, so. Yeah,
It's still a non-conforming, but
he's
it's
not,
less.
he's not making it worse, he's just staying within it.
Right. Good. Questions from the public. Anybody on Zoom who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Use the raise hand function, and we will let you talk. Seeing none, I will close the public comment section of this this hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion.
What do we have to figure out?
Yeah, I think this is not substantially more detrimental.
No.
It's unfortunate that the bylaw didn't give us the flexibility to roll with the earlier plan, but I appreciate that the applicant has made these updates, and I'm perfectly happy with this one.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
Good.
I move that we grant to David and Marianne Schubert for a special permit under zoning bylaw section 7.1.5 and 11.6 to construct a 453 square foot deck that extends the non-conforming front yard setback to Riverdale Road. Well, that doesn't extend it, then, right?
Right.
That doesn't extend, maintains, or even decreases it to 9.9 feet.
No, stay the 9.8 because that's a rule.
Okay. That maintains the non-conforming front yard setback to Riverdale Road at 111 Pilgrim Road. Amen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That was
Take
easy.
care.
Thank you. Yep. Great.
Last continued public hearing of the evening, 7:35. Michael Brassi, the applicant, on behalf of Irina Maldanova, the owner, for variance on the zoning bylaw sections 624 and 11.7 to the dwelling location requirement for a frontage exception lot to allow an additional dwelling unit to be located in the frontage exception area at 262 Virginia Road. So this has been an application that's been before us and for a special permit, which we then denied, got appealed. And I'm really making this short synopsis.
Great.
Got appealed, got sent back by the judge for remand. And the new filing is for a variance and not for a special permit. So we have a different set of rules now, or different set of thresholds and requirements. We did do a site visit a week or so ago where we just walked the site and looked at the location. And we're now are ready to hear from the applicant on his variance application. So Mr. I just want to also just make sure that people know that, I mentioned the people from the town of Concord that were present here at this meeting. Kristen Gargalis, our town council, is also present here at the moment. So anybody who wants to speak on this application?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. Michael Cresty here.
Thank you. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So, given the time of day and the time of the week, my attorneys are not present, but I have also here the contractor that we've been working with, Vito Neshev, who may be able to add some color to what we have to say tonight. So thank you for the opportunity to present this. And so again, Mr. Chairman, as you said, there's quite some history here, but we are here finally looking at a protected use ADU under the new Housing Act, and it's 899 square feet, therefore complies with the protected use definition. Just a recap of the existing conditions. So when the board visited, you entered the site from the top here on Virginia Road, proceeded through the site near the location of the proposed ADU, and then onto the area, the conforming area, which is behind the line that lines up with the edge of this property here, the wetland being over here, and you exited along the common drive between the three properties, ours at 262, and then at 260 and 244, Virginia Road. The house itself is very typical and traditional for the neighborhood, built in around 1980, along with most of the other houses in this particular zoning area. The view from Virginia Road shows an informal access that's been in use by landscapers and property owners and occupants for pretty much since the house was built. Existing stone walls from either that time or prior, which we intend to restore, and shows you in this winter scene some of the mature trees along this edge, none of which will be disturbed during the project or after. These two views, just to help you recollect, this is a view back from, more or less from where the proposed ADU would be located towards the entrance of the site here. Those are some pine trees that screen most of the site from Virginia Road, and the adjacent property line runs approximately here. In this other view here, looking south, you can see Quail Run Drive building here. The ADU would be located approximately here, set back well from the road, more or less in that line with this house and the other house on the other side. So in sum, this is a protected use ADU of 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with some attic storage and an unfinished non-habitable basement that will be used for storage and utilities, and an outdoor deck on the south side, so away from the road facing the sun. Among the new improvements would be a new drive to connect directly to Virginia Road using that informal entrance and formalizing it with a curb cut. Parking space for 2 cars. We don't believe there's a need for more parking space than this, although we had considered a garage. We don't intend to do so, and if we need to revise the drawings for submittal, we'll do that. As I mentioned, we intend to restore the fieldstone wall in Virginia Road because it's a beautiful wall, it just needs some work. Plant some new trees and improve the landscaping because many of the existing trees on that part of the site are very old fruit trees which don't produce or are in poor condition, and then a new septic system because the site is not connected to the town septic system, so town sewage system. A more detailed opportunity to look at the plan. As you can see, the house is set back well within the allowed area of site boundary setbacks, side and front, more or less aligns with the adjacent house here, slightly forward of this house, but not very different from most other houses set back in this neighborhood. And there's plenty of space for the leach field here and the septic tank. The town did conduct inspection. Excavations were done at the request of the town at our cost to confirm that the septic tank system would not be below the water table. That was done about 2 years ago. A slightly more detailed plan showing again the deck on the south side, parking to the north. You can ignore this part because we don't intend to do that. Elevations, just showing that it's well underneath the 35-foot maximum height. Essentially looks much like a single-story house, even though it does have the attic space. and otherwise is rectangular and fairly simple in shape and form. As far as the zoning compliance goes, it complies in all regards with the zoning except with regard to that setback because of the 120-foot frontage exception. So the minimum front yard is 40 feet. We have a minimum of 155. We have 15-foot side yard. We've got 21 and 41 feet, give or take. And the rear yard is a minimum of 30 foot or 25 for the lot depth. We have 145. Maximum height is 26 feet or so above grade, whereas it's permissible is 35. And well below the maximum FAR for a project of this kind of site. So it comes to the question of what we're trying to do here. Protected use ADU is pretty much as of right. And regulation by the town may not be unreasonable. Regulation is unreasonable when it may nullify the use, which is the development of a protected use ADU, or it may pose excessive cost by requiring that the protected ADU be developed in a way that is more expensive but doesn't significantly advance the municipality's legitimate interest. And also when it may substantially interfere with the use of development of a protected use ADU. And as the Attorney General has found, the question of reasonableness of a local zoning requirement as applied to proposed protected use will depend on the particular facts of each case. In this case, all three of these conditions apply, in that what the town's been asking us to do would effectively nullify the use or impose an excessive cost or substantially interfere with the development of a protected use ADU on the property. To look at what's permitted under the zoning, we identified the zoning compliant area. We had marked that for the board's understanding during the site visit. Essentially, it's behind the setback here, more than 150 feet from the road, which is how the properties in this area were designed. And then there's a 100-year wetland buffer. While we could ask for a variance to build within that buffer, the last thing we want to do is expose new construction to risk of flooding, given that all the analyses of wetland flood zones are out of date given the impacts of climate change. So the only real way to comply is to squeeze the ADU in here, and that's exactly where most of the mature trees are and where the rocky ridge is that dominates the eastern part of the site. So this strict frontage compliance will impose excessive cost and interfere with the development of this ADU. We've estimated at least $70,000 of additional cost to build within that area based on the requirement to either build foundations on the rock shelf or dig the basement that we need. The wetlands buffer prevents us from using other parts of the site. The loss of the basement would hamper the functionality of the dwelling, requiring us to put utilities on the ground floor, take up more FAR. And the access via driveway would either overburden the existing driveway and require a new driveway across the existing septic tank, or an eastern edge drive from the north, which would be much, much longer than we propose, remove more mature trees, cost more, and additionally burden adjacent abutters. If I can just go back one, I meant to make clear that this location here is the furthest away from abutters, providing as much privacy as we can for them, whereas squeezing it in here would really impose potential privacy constraints on number 50 here, something that we are loath to do, and I'm sure they would be happy if we didn't. So the construction impacts of complying outweigh any legitimate municipal interest because they produce real adverse impacts without any obvious public benefit. Either a wetlands disturbance or the removal of mature trees, which are all established around that ridge where the only real viable place is within the conforming area to build. Rock removal impacts blasting and so on, and then decreased abutter privacy, as I just mentioned. So the proposed project meets the variance criteria of bylaw 11.7. There is unique topography and site conditions. Firstly, the large rock shelf covering most of the zoning compliant area. And secondly, the proximity to the wetland buffer that constrains the buildable site. Enforcement creates substantial hardship. Elimination of a basement with its storage and utility rooms, construction on the rock shelf or in the rock shelf with additional costs up to $70,000. Wetlands mitigation that may be required should we build within the 100-foot zone. And a new driveway to reach the zoning compliant area is significantly increases impervious surface and cost. The third consideration is that there's no substantial detriment to the public good, that the building in the proposed location reduces neighborhood impacts of construction, the removal of the rock. It preserves more of the mature trees on the site, and it sits further from abutting properties and construction within the zoning compliant area. And finally, there's no substantial derogation from the bylaw's intent. It serves the purposes articulated in section 1.2 by conserving natural resources, avoiding the wetland buffer zone, and the removal of mature trees, and improve separation from the abutters. It doesn't derogate from 1.3.11. Frontage exists to provide safe and adequate vehicle and pedestrian access from the street and principal use of the lot. Thank you very much for your time. I'm ready for questions, should you have any.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Does the board have any questions? Let me, while you think, so you are showing the wetlands line on that site plan. You mentioned 100 foot, you mentioned 150, then you mentioned a floodplain line, 150 floodplain line. What is that line?
So just to be clear, the town's GIS for which this image comes shows a 100-year flood line. Yeah, anything inside that is in the wetland. And
okay, it's a flood line.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, good. So, and I like the presentation about the unit, etc. And but I am. This is variance request, right? So we need to determine whether or not there is hardship here. If we if we let you build on the front part of the lot, you mentioned at one point you said you needed the basement. Why do you need a basement?
Well, the primary intent of the ADU is to house aging parents as they may need more care. And, they've accumulated things over the course of their lives that they value. And the intent of the basement is to include utility rooms and storage for the things that they may be bringing with them from their existing homes.
So and your basement adds to your construction costs, obviously, the necessity of that basement, right? And that's why that ledge removal comes into play in the back.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your question.
The fact that you would like to build a basement sort of is complicated by the ledge removal in the rear, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Foundations as well, utilities, pipes, and there really isn't a place to build a septic tank in that area because of the rock.
Yeah. So just a point of clarification, right? So, and that as it pertains to this hardship, we had 4 ADU special permit requests at our last hearing. We approved all 4 of them. None of the 4 had a basement. So at least one was very specific for a parent that needed to age in place. So I'm kind of discounting the need for a basement here. I'm not finding that a good argument for a hardship. Just giving you that heads up here.
I think I appreciate the ADU design from what we initially looked at has been changed, so it now is a protected use ADU. So I think, I sort of hesitate to comment on anything about the ADU itself, right? It's more about, we're not trying to regulate that ADU per se, but I believe, and town council is on, can correct me, that you can still have sort of setback requirements, which I think we are talking about here, and that's why we're in variance land. And so, we're talking about uniqueness of this topography of the site, soil conditions, or shape, and that especially affects this site, but not generally the district, the zoning area, the zoning district. And we're talking about the substantial hardship.
Yeah, can I just jump? Oh, sorry. I just want to jump in there really quick. So you're correct that it's an application for a variance, but there are actually two possible forms of relief. I just wanted to clarify that. One is a variance. The other is just waiving this provision of the bylaw, this particular setback provision as it applies to the property. So if you were to consider granting a variance, you would have to, the project would have to meet those requirements that you just stated about, the soil conditions and the shape and the topography and all of that. You wouldn't have to make those same findings to waive the the setback requirement. And you would essentially be waiving the setback requirement because it imposes a hardship on the building of the ADU, if that makes sense. So you can find one or the other. Both require, findings specific to the property, but the variance standard focuses more on those factors that you mentioned, like the uniqueness of the lot.
Right. And the sort of what I understand for hardship analysis when we're talking about a variance, are we talking about a similar hardship analysis for waiver of the setback here? Or are we talking about some lower threshold or some different threshold of a hardship analysis?
That's a great question, and I wish there were any decisions on any of the on the regulations, the statute, or anything to be helpful. So my answer isn't going to be 100% helpful. It is, so a variance standard, I will say, is traditionally a very high standard to meet. The standard in terms of waiving the bylaw for compliance with the ADU regulations is that enforcement of this provision will result in a complete nullification of use, impose excessive costs, or substantially interfere. So what exactly that means, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities knows, and we are interpreting. So it's not 100% clear yet, but it is certainly not a low threshold. It just may not be as high as the variance threshold.
Got it.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, I mean, for me, it seems like the waiver threshold is easier to meet. I don't think we can meet the variance threshold. So I think we should be focusing on the waiver threshold. And I think we can look at those three things, right? Is it nullifying the ADU use on property? Is it imposing an excessive costs? Or is it substantially interfering with the right of the ADU, right?
Yeah, there's go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're discussing, right?
Yeah.
This is, so we should go to the public.
Yeah.
First for their question and comment, and then bring it back and then discussing.
I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me
go
see
ahead.
what we think of whether we should do this part before the public or
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
But the part I'm thinking about is kind of that other side of the weigh-in with the substantial detriment. And I would appreciate input from town council on this, that what struck me on the site visit is that if we were looking at subdividing this lot, and that the ADU is gonna be a fresh home, then the rhythm makes sense, because then it's like 3 houses and then there's another driveway. But as far as it being not a subdivision, but an accessory dwelling unit, to me, it creates almost like 2 lots on 1 lot. And I don't think that's the intent, and I don't think that's what the abutters bought into.
Right.
And so that, to me, is I think the biggest concern. And I think in terms of neighborhood harmony, it's the one that I think bears sort of putting out there. So town council, if you can help me put that within the legal framework of where that concern sits, I would appreciate it.
No, I think you perfectly stated that, actually almost exactly within the legal framework, which is that you're balancing whatever municipal interest the setback requirement is intended to protect against the detriment to the building of the ADU, or the detriment of the applicant's ability to build the ADU. And so what you just mentioned would go sort of on that first side of the equation, which is the municipal interest that you're seeking to protect.
Yeah, I mean, I think ADUs in general are a great thing, and I think certainly Massachusetts law, our zoning code supports the idea that that's a good thing. But in this case, I can't square the fact that it really does seem almost to be more of a subdivision of the lot than a building of an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah. Let's bring it to the public, because I think some members of the public want to comment on this. Please raise your hand. Please also know that there are a lot of letters in the file and on our webpage. We have read them all.
We really have.
We really have read them all. And so we really appreciate actually everybody's involvement with this. But we've read all the letters, so if you want to speak, please be succinct, and especially if you're the second, third, fourth speaker, please don't be repetitive, just given the time that it's 9:15 at the moment. So anybody want to speak on this application? Anybody, please use the raise hand function and speak. Even if it's just a couple of sentences. Yes, Miss Tackle. Hang on, we're asking you to unmute. I can't. Hang on there,
I got it. Okay, I got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anita Techley, 260 Virginia Road, the closest abutter to the proposed ADU. Just a couple of points, and we've all sent extensive letters that you've read. This clearly the whole 3-story design was not the original intent of ADUs. It's so far away from the existing house. There's no proposed path from one house to the other. So the supposed aging parents would, how would they get to visit? They'd be walking on rough terrain to get to visit the main house. None of the design changes over the 2 years that we've been coming to these hearings have been minimal. He lowered the basement ceiling by a few inches. It's still a walkout basement. He has not addressed the questions about why do you need a walk-up attic with full stairs. All of us have pull-down stairs for our attics, and they're really are just for storage. And he really has not addressed one of the significant issues is groundwater. One of your earlier applicants tonight very nicely raised his new construction so that it would be above the high water table. No studies have been done on this property, and we all have issues with water in our basement that are fairly new, at least for me, for our property. It's really just been the past couple of years, and we lived in this house since 1986, which was when the houses were all built. And I guess I will clarify, Mr. Gretzi, he said they were built around 1980. They were built in 86. And we're the original owners of this property. I just think he's been unresponsive. I think the long-term plan is not what he's proposing. If it's going to be a year-round rental, then just be honest about it. And it is a subdivision without benefit of the subdivision control law. He's trying to avoid that.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
No, I'm done.
Okay, great, thank you. Michael's iPad. Trying to get you unmuted here. Can we get that? Do you need to do that?
Hello, can you hear?
Yeah, Michael, go
Okay.
ahead.
Hey, Michael Smith, 54 Quail Run Drive. Just an item I don't think that was covered in at least our letter that I'm concerned about is the addition of a septic system. I'm just not aware that an ADU is entitled to add a second separate septic system on the property. I thought the requirement would be a shared either, sewer attachment or septic system. And again, this is akin to a subdivision. So I'll leave that point there. And then the second point I'd like to say, our property at 54 Quail Run is actually inside that 100-year flood zone. And we are lucky enough that we have not experienced any flooding in 30 years in our basement. So I would contend that what's more applicable with respect to the wetlands is the wetlands buffer zone, or whatever that current requirement is. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Do you know that answer, Kevin, on?
So the septic system has to have the capacity to accommodate the ADU, or they could put in a brand new one, or they could put in a separate one. For the ADU.
Okay, so it's perfectly fine by the Board of Health to have two separate septic systems.
Yeah, they just, they have to have the land to do it.
Okay, great, thank you. By the way, for anybody who was just listening, this was Kevin Pickering, the building commissioner speaking. Ms. Bandy.
Rachel, this is Rachel.
Rachel Bandy.
Hi. Yes, Rachel Bandi at 50 Quail Run Drive. So we live directly behind the applicant. So I just wanted to point out that, Michael had emailed us saying, hey, we can build this by right, and we are going to do that. And it just kind of felt like coercion in trying to get us to not approve, but kind of support his project. And it felt a little threatening that he's going to build this home that we've, vocally opposed and said, hey, we're worried about this basement, we're worried about water damage, or we're worried about what you're going to do is kind of how it's going to impact our property. And he's still trying to solicit us for support. It didn't sit well with me. We don't support this, and he hasn't addressed any of the neighborhood's concerns.
Great, thank you. And I can't read Shannon von Paden.
Yep, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right, thanks so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm at 244 Virginia Road, so another abutter to the main home. Everyone's kind of touched on the water. So we're at a low point in all of this, and so water tends to pool in the middle of our driveway area. So I am most concerned about displacing a large amount of soil near our home, and then putting cement in it for a basement, and then paving another driveway for 2 cars. So the driveway and the basement causing additional water damage and a very delicate ecosystem that we're in right now. It seems unnecessary if you need an ADU. The basements aren't needed. It's unnecessary. So those are my concerns. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your comment. These are all the raised hands I'm seeing. Anybody else? Joanne.
Hi, I'm Joanne Smith, 54 Quail Run Drive. I appreciate the board's time and thoughtfulness, and we don't want to repeat things that are in letters, but This has been a very disruptive, difficult situation for the neighborhood. We already have water issues with many of the neighbors. Everybody on this call, pretty much the water flows down into their properties. We are, a 5-house development right next to a 3-house development. There has been a lot of disruption, unrest, rude, uncaring behavior in this neighborhood as a result of this applicant. And we've tried to be very professional, be patient on these calls. We appreciate the board's thoughtfulness. Lots and lots of things that have been stated by this applicant. It's not an access point existing on the road. It's not screened from Virginia Road. It sits right in the backyard of 2 of our neighbors, right close to their house, not close to the other house. There are no aging parents. It's just, we could go on with the misrepresentations. So we appreciate the board very much being thoughtful and looking out for the neighborhood. I know of no other ADU that sits in the front like a new single-family house. I think the board member who spoke and said, this is absolutely, and this applicant has stated this many times, we're putting in a new house. That's why we bought our house. So she's exactly got the issue that it isn't an ADU, it's someone trying to build another single-family house and make a further subdivision with an already 3-house subdivision with 1 driveway. So it's a complicated neighborhood already. We don't need it to be more difficult. And we appreciate the board's thoughtful review.
Great, thank you. Excuse me. 42, please.
Hi, my name is Mustafa Karabas, and I'm 24 Quail Run Drive, directly abutter to the applicant. And I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody said. I second everybody's opinion. The one thing that I want to add that we actually raised all these concerns to Mr. Grasty from the beginning. And then when we raised our concerns, like his response to me specifically, hey, we are applying all these fusses about extra 100 square feet. Other than that, I have right to do it. I don't need to talk to anybody. I just want to make this clearly, like this statement clearly in front of everybody. And this is not personal, but we have raised and we had never actually got back reasonable responses from the applicant that can actually at least some of the concerns that we raised addressed by the applicants, but none of them were addressed. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody else wanting to speak, wishing to speak? If not,
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Sure.
Thank you. And I guess I have to say I appreciate the interest of my neighbors here. I just want to correct a few things for the record. Firstly, I did approach the most prominent abutters early on in the project and invite their comment, and I didn't get any back because they decided to work against us and work in concert. So I just want to make clear that we did reach out to folks and look for their input. Several folks have mentioned the kind of difficult and hostile conditions. I would say the hostility we experienced from members of the community was surprising, including our children being threatened on the school bus and similar things, which we reported to the school at the time. We've been nothing but pleasant to everyone concerned here, and certainly would like to have a good neighborly relationship, but we don't think that putting the ADU where it is strange in that it's more typical of the buildings in the neighborhood as opposed to clustering them in one corner where everything's squeezed in, and in particular where, frankly, the Bandys would have the most privacy impact, whereas where we propose to put it, neither the Tickleys nor the Carabases would particularly be impacted from a privacy perspective. And that is something we've brought up. Ms. Bandy, when she says that we were trying to coerce her, we simply indicated that we were looking for support for our variance application to place the ADU further away from their fence and border than we would otherwise have to do in no way did we say we would absolutely go ahead and build no matter what, because costs are a concern here. And that's why we've raised this a number of times, whether it's blasting the rock or building a driveway 2 or 3 times the length it needs to be. Those are all additional costs that locating within the approved area would impose on us. As for suppositions and speculation about my family or what use we want to put to it, it's really none of anybody else's business how many parents or grandparents are alive or dead, or whether they're not. But just for the record, there are aging grandparents, and the rest is not anyone else's business, frankly. So thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm closing the public comment section of this year and bringing it back to the board. I'm starting this off here. I'm struggling with it, but not really. We saw that email that you sent, Ms. Grassi, that email that you sent to one of the abutters about your preferred location of the ADU, that you can build it in the back, but you just prefer a different location. That email really confirmed for me that there is no hardship building it in the back. Partially, I think you want to build it. Partially, the hardship comes from the fact that you want the basement. If you have a slab on grade, which is, as I said earlier, perfectly acceptable for an ADU, I think your cost will drastically be reduced. Plus, you don't have to build a long driveway. It just comes off the original driveway. And I think that was the intent of this subdivision very early on in this application. Elizabeth, the town planner, pulled up a plan or the GIS from the town showing all the frontage exception lots on this road, and there are several. And I think what the original intent was from us for a frontage exception lot is that as you can see here, only one curb cut serving 3 homes that are set in the back, and on the front you still have very much a rural character of Concord. And there are, of course, you have the farm across, and there is these other open areas. So this sort of dovetails a little bit on your comment on this is a subdivision, right? And it doesn't look right. And I appreciate Mr. Grass saying that he wants to rebuild the stone wall. The stone wall is going to be at least partially removed because that curb cut needs to be widened. So we're gonna have that. That's a little bit of an issue. So that's where I am at the moment. I am. I'm struggling with the fact that I really would like to approve an ADU because I like the ADUs, and I think that's what the town wants us to do. But as we had in the beginning, the location.
I feel like the substantial detriment to the public good, that there's a lot weighing, and we're hearing from many homeowners about the impact of it. And so, we have the amount of authority we have, and certainly there are appeals beyond our authority, and maybe that's where this heads. I just don't see where my understanding of the authority I have here encompasses this.
Right.
I just don't see it, but
right.
I say that knowing that we're not the final voice on this.
We're not correct, and there was a judge involved who remanded this. But my gut is when I read this, as what we said, the original application was for the wrong permit. It was for a special permit and for size. And I bet, as I make this interpretation, the judge remanded this like it's a variance issue and not a special permit for size.
Well, I think Kristen's point was there's that second pass, right? So
yeah,
I think on the question, right, I'm not sure that that there's a rocky ledge, that you're near a wetland, you know, that you've got a frontage exception lot and then neighborhood with a bunch of frontage exception lots. I have a tough time finding the unique circumstances for a variance. I have a very tough time finding a substantial hardship for a variance. Without getting into the public good, but.
And especially since the applicant pretty much tells the neighbor.
Well, we're not
Um,
policing behavior. I mean, let's keep that in mind. We're not
Right,
policing
yeah.
inter-neighborhood relations.
No, but that he tells in this
Well,
email.
But it's intent, and we're also not so much examining intent, so.
Yeah,
Looking at the-
but I think we gotta look at that second analysis, right, like. And I think we considered a variance in the previous hearing as well, and we went through some analysis of that. I'm pretty comfortable that there's not enough for a variance here.
Agreed.
I wanna talk about the waiver of the setback here. And, you know, I think you touched a little bit on some of the benefits of towns having setback requirements, right? And it's all about the character of the town. And it's all about keeping, you know, houses from being too close together or in areas where, you know, we've given a frontage exception a lot on the understanding that you're not gonna be building in that exception area. But I think we have to look at, okay, if we aren't gonna waive the setback here, does that nullify the use of the property for an ADU? Does it impose an excessive cost on the ADU? Does it substantially interfere with the ADU? And, you know, I think in turn for each of those, right? There are other places on the lot where you could put the ADU. There is an ADU that can exist on this lot that isn't in the setback. So for me, I would find we're not nullifying by holding to the setback. I don't think we're nullifying the ADU use on this property. So then we've got the excessive costs and, you know, I think the site visit was very helpful because it really made me see that it is a challenging site in the back to figure out where to put an ADU. But I don't think challenging means impossible. And I don't think we have a definition of what excessive cost is, but as you said, you could save cost by eliminating the basement or making other design or placement choices.
Making a shorter driveway.
You know, maybe the courts are gonna come out and say that $70,000 is an excessive cost. But to me, I know these things are expensive anyway. I don't think adding that when you're also deciding to have a second septic system, you know, for me, the balance, I'm seeing increased costs if you have to figure out a way to put it in the challenging area of the site, but I'm not seeing excessive. And in terms of substantial interference, to me, you know, are we really getting in the way of this property owner being able to have a 900 square foot ADU on their property in a substantial manner? Yes, there's some interference in that you can't have it exactly where you want it and you can't have the exact design you want, but is that substantial enough that it meets this standard where we have to say, okay, you know what, we've got to waive this setback because having this setback really makes putting an ADU on this property, you know, too complex or impossible. And I think there's a path for an ADU here where we don't have to waive the setback.
Mr. Chair, may I just briefly clarify something there as well?
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to be clear that the other thing that is not yet clear because there's no case law developed on these particular regulations is whether the court will first look at all of the factors that Robbie just outlined, or whether the court will first look at whether the municipality can defend the particular provision of the bylaw it's seeking to enforce. So here, the setback and what the interest of enforcing a setback in general is. So it is possible that the court may require the town to defend the setback requirement first before it looks at all of those factors, or it's possible the burden may be flipped. It's just not entirely clear yet. So I just wanted to make that.
But Kristen, is it this board's kind of role or job to defend the setback requirement exists, or is that, because that's not something that we came up with, right? That's what town meeting came up with. That's what the town has on the books.
Right.
Are we defending that, or are we just looking at the analysis that we were just looking at?
Fair point. You're looking at the analysis that you were just doing. I just want the board to be aware that it will have to not defend sort of the existence of setback requirements, but the application of the setback requirement in this case.
And I think any clarity the court might add would be helpful all around. So I think that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. But yeah,
now,
for me,
today.
it's like, for me, the town has this in there for its reasons, and it's on the books, and you know, would we waive it based on that other analysis? I can't get there.
No,
Me either.
right, no.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
I do appreciate the challenge, but I can't get over that problem.
Yeah, and as I said, right, there's other frontage exception lots on that road. So that road could look quite different if we set this as a precedent.
Exactly. Even knowing that variances are unique, but still.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right,
Yeah.
so.
I agree.
Yeah, no, yeah, so that's where we are.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond in the interest of debate so that we can perhaps thrash out some topics here?
Sure.
So, I thank the board for being so thorough in reviewing this application. You know, when the town formulated its zoning laws, ADUs weren't a thing. And they've now become a thing. And this legislature has been very clear that it doesn't want towns to unreasonably prevent, or in certain cases impose additional costs on owners who want to build ADUs. And you can speculate that we could build an ADU in this conforming space, but it requires either a drive from Virginia Road or basically destroying the entire front lawn and going over existing septic facilities, the tank and the leach field, to get from the drive here to somewhere over here, which is the only kind of triangular space that's left right on the rocky ridge where all the mature trees are. And so you're saying we'd have to pay the cost of a longer drive, or potentially remediating the septic tank here, or losing our entire front lawn to a drive to get access to the ADU. And I'm struggling to see what the legitimate interest of the town is that would mean not waiving that setback in order to accommodate the state's requirement that the town not unreasonably make it difficult for owners to build ADUs, right? The state's basically really said to towns, you've got to rethink how you're approaching this because you need to accommodate more ADUs. And there's nothing that says that an ADU has to be attached to a house. In fact, the current version of the law specifically separates ADUs from houses. They were required to be connected before, and you got all these strange pergolas and so on that people use to connect them. It's not required to be connected anymore, and that gives owners a lot more flexibility to put the ADUs where they make sense. And given the character of the neighborhood, there's lots of open space here. Most people don't build their FAR. We're not building to our full FAR, and we're setting back in a way that looks visually from the street similar to the setbacks of other houses, such as 260 over here and the other house over here. So I'm having a really hard time seeing how, firstly, the town's old bylaws and recognize the spirit and intent of the new ADU law, and secondly, what the town's trying to preserve when there is infill going on, and it's not like we're building a 10-story office tower or filling the entire lot to the maximum FAR. We're just building an ADU on a part of the lot that preserves the character of the neighborhood and creates the least impact on our neighbors' privacy while also keeping our costs down.
Thank you. As I just said, there's this neighborhood could look completely different if anybody with a frontage exempt lot were to build an ADU in that space, and the open space that you're referring to along Virginia Road would be drastically reduced at that point in time. So I just, you know, I don't want to set a precedent for that.
Yeah, I think we have to take the sort of will of the town, right? Like, we're not gonna purport to speak for the town. Like, town meeting speaks for the town and amends the bylaw if there's a change in what the town kind of feels like they want the character of it to be. So I think we can look at, based on the waiver factors, whether we think there's a case for waiving what we understand the town's desire to be, and then the town, as council said, is gonna have to defend the reasonableness of the setback requirement. But I don't think it's my place to go one way or the other on how reasonable that setback is. Other than that analysis.
Yeah.
Of how it impacts this ADU on this property.
Yeah, no, I think that analysis that you did was pretty spot on. So do I read this board correctly that was struggling to approve this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm struggling. I don't see a way in my understanding of my authority in this situation.
Yeah, so my suggestion is that we continue the public hearing and ask town council, with the help of the town planner, to write a decision. Is that something you could do, Kristen?
Yeah, sure. Happy to.
Yeah, if you could
And then-
look at that, I think as we did last time, and then make sure it captures and make sure that we have thought through all the.
Yeah,
what goes
that we
into
give
this.
it a more thorough analysis than what we're doing
Right,
here
right,
together.
right.
Yep. Good. I think that makes sense.
And then we'll vote on this.
Yeah.
In August.
Yeah, and then if we reflect and we need more information or something, we're able to get that. Should that happen?
Well, yeah, I guess what's the procedure? Is this the end of the hearing and we're just deliberating on a decision? I think that's how it works. Versus,
Right, but
like,
we
the
need to have
open.
the hearing open to this. Kristen or
You could
Christine?
close the public hearing and just be considering the decision, or you could leave the public hearing open. That's
But I mean, if you close the public hearing, we can still discuss the decision.
So we're not making a final decision tonight, but we're on the way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I'd like to close the public hearing.
Great.
Right?
Okay.
So, and then continue. How logistically does it work? Then do we need to we don't need to continue, right? It's gonna be an administrative item on the next the next meeting.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I move that we close the public hearing on Michael Gretzky, the applicant, on behalf of Irina Maldanova, the owner, for a variance under zoning bylaw section 6.2.4 and 11.7 to the dwelling location requirement for frontage exception lot to allow an additional dwelling unit to be located in the frontage exception area at 262 Virginia Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we'll be discussing a decision on this at our next public hearing under administrative items, so they'll become at the end of the hearing. Thank you very much.
Great.
Draft administrative business, draft meeting minutes, June 11 and June 25, which was the site visit. Anybody had any comments? I read them and I did not see anything.
No.
I think there was one place where some language got copy pasted twice, but it wasn't harmful to the meeting, so.
I think it covered everything.
So I move that we approve the draft minutes for June 11th and June 25th, as posted.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Done. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.